Core Justice, Chapter 38. Let's go. Chapter 38, above NON compound, Williamson County, Tennessee. The team on the helicopter waited anxiously as Neil patched into the onboard system and clicked away. I've almost got it. There. Everyone looked expectantly at the video monitor to see the change. Neil had been right. What had looked before like only a few spectrums now looked like a rainbow where every color bled into the next. Travis's voice rose. You want to tell me how the hell this helps us? Patience, Trav. I'm about out of patience, Neil. My cousin, your friend, is down there right now having that fucking gangster do who knows what to him. He might already be dead. Andy placed a hand on Travis's shoulder. We don't know that, Trav. Neil's doing his best. So show us how this works, Neil. Neil pointed to the monitor. Now, this is all just theory, but I'm thinking that if we zoom in close enough, we might be able to see the vents. Travis began to calm down. What are we looking for? It should almost look like a little fire, Neil said. You know how you look at a flame, say, coming out of a pipe? I'm thinking if I got the calibration right, we'll be able to see that. The group spent the next minute staring at the screen as Neil zoomed and panned over the terrain. Brian almost jumped out of his seat, pointing. What's that right there? Neil leaned closer. Let me zoom in. That looks like a vent. Now let me follow it up this way. There's another one, Andy shouted. Good job, Neil, Travis said. Now keep following those vents and let's see if we can find that damned rabbit hole. New section. There's going to be a few sections on this, by the way. In under a minute, Cal had somehow managed to scrape the zip tie on his left wrist almost all the way through as the rusting bed spring. He gave one last tug and the tie popped off of his bloodied wrist. He glanced down at the still unconscious West. His internal clock told him he had less than a minute to get out. He was in no condition to find out if his body could handle a hand-to-hand fight right now. New section. The helicopter crew tracked the vents to a location just over a mile from the main house. There, they found some kind of tiny structure that appeared to be a sewer drain. Travis decided to start the search on the ground there. After hearing from Master Sergeant Trent that there was a third steel door behind the second, Travis ordered Trent to leave 2 men to guard the house and bring the rest via helicopter to the possible tunnel exit. Travis spoke to the pilot, pointing to an open spot below. Put her down right over there in that field. We'll hump the rest of the way. Where do you want me? Neil asked. Stay on the helo and give us updates from the air. Doc, I want you to be ready with whatever medical gear you have. Roger, Brian answered. Andy, how do you feel about going in first? Travis asked. I'm game. Okay, the rest of us will provide support. The pilot spoke up. 10 seconds to LZ. Roger, Travis said, surveying his team. Let's go get our boy. Next section. Cal had almost removed his last restraint when Dante started stirring. He looked up in confusion and shook his head, trying to clear the cobwebs. Attempting to focus, he got up to his hands and knees just as Cal snapped the last zip tie off of his left ankle. With speed that surprised Cal, Dante got to his feet and reached in his pocket. Staggering on unsteady legs, Cal snatched the baseball bat from the ground, swung it backhanded, and connected with West's firing hand just as he extracted a pistol from his coat. The weapon fired and clattered to the floor as Dante clutched his hand. He looked up at Cal. You're going to pay for that, boy. Dante stepped back and grabbed the wicked-looking fillet knife from the bench. Cal was trying his best to stay on his feet, but his head was reeling. His body had taken a real beating. He had to focus. His life depended on his ability to stay on his feet. New section. NON Underground Facility Back Exit, Williamson County, Tennessee. Andy led the reinforced team up to the iron sewer grate that was mounted into the side of the hill. The crisscrossed iron bars were big enough to fit an arm through, but no way near big enough to fit a person. The stench was foul. He could see water draining out through his night vision goggles. It smelled like it came from a local cow farm. Sweeping the area, he looked for some kind of entrance. Where the hell was the exit? Looking back to his left, he stopped. Did you hear that? Trent nodded. Sounded like a muffled gunshot. Yeah. Came from inside the grate. You think you can move it? Let me take a look, Trent said. Trent shouldered his weapon as the rest of the team provided cover. The huge man felt around the edge of the grate for some kind of release or handhold. Nothing. Next, he reached inside the opening and started methodically feeling along the inner edge. Halfway around, he stopped. I think I've got a handle but it's locked. Where are the hinges? Andy asked. On the left side. You think we can blast through it with a little demo? Won't that give us away? I think it's a little late for that. Besides, I didn't like the sound of that gunshot a second ago. Trent nodded his agreement. Okay, I'll go get the breach kit from our guys. Andy nodded and looked back to the grate. I hope it's not too late. New section. The two wounded men circled each other, trying to find an opening. They each eyed the pistol on the ground. The weapon could easily turn the tide. West took a quick swipe at Cal. Cal dodged easily and shifted left as West moved closer to his lost gun. I can't wait to carve you up, white boy. You're the one with half an ear. Looks like I'm winning, Cal said. Cal put his hand up and touched Cal put Dante. Holy guacamole! Dante put his hand up and touched the remains of his tattered ear. Although wounded, he was far from being out of the fight. The loss of his hearing in his left ear wasn't going to stop him. West looked at his opponent with pure hatred. Only one man would be leaving alive. West was convinced he would be that man. New section. The team stepped back and took cover as a signal was given that the breaching explosive was set. Andy counted down with his fingers, and the demolition man pressed the button on the remote device. At the same moment, the loud blast echoed through the trees. Andy looked around the tree and saw that the grate was now resting on its hinges. They were in. New section. Cal and Dante looked toward the open hallway at the sound of the muffled explosion. Fear crossed Dante's face as he quickly calculated his options. He still had an extra escape route in case the back sewer was found. Cal grinned. I told you my boys were coming. They're not here yet, Dante said, but he sounded shaken. As he spit out his last word, he lunged for the discarded pistol. A second later, Cal was also diving for the weapon. He was too late. As he descended to the floor, Cal could see Dante wrapping his hand around the pistol and turning it his way. The world slowed as Cal stared down the barrel of his executioner. New section. The team rushed into the tunnel, scanning and clearing as they went. They kept as quiet as they could, but the running water made it almost impossible. Andy pushed hard as he moved down the tunnel. 50 feet down, he found a door. Luckily, this one wasn't made of steel. New section. Cal lurched to the right as Dante pulled the trigger. Miraculously, the bullet somehow only grazed Cal's head as he descended the final distance to the ground. The side of his scalp burned from the bullet's passing. He ignored the pain and tried to knock the weapon aside. Dante brought the pistol back around towards Cal. This time, he wouldn't miss. New section. Master Sergeant Trent barreled through the wooden door like a freight train. Andy came in right behind with his weapon leveled. He could see light ahead, heard the sound of another gunshot. New section. Instead of shying away from the gun, Cal embraced it, literally. He grabbed Dante's pistol hand and tried to angle the barrel up as he pulled the weapon closer to his chest. A crash sounded from the hallway, and Cal could see Dante struggling to keep his focus inside the room. For Dante West, the next few moments would seal his fate, regardless of whether he lived or died. His only hope now was to exact his revenge before that happened. New section. Andy ran down the tunnel, trailed by the rest of the assault team. His heart pounded as he readied himself for the scene he was about to encounter. Would Cal be dead? Rounding the corner, his heart leapt as he saw his friend struggling on the ground with West. Still alive. New section. Dante's eyes widened as he glanced at the hallway to see men in black streaming into the room. The two men grappled on the floor, a fight to the death. The pistol remained lodged smack in the middle of the two. A hair's breadth either way, and one man would be dead. Cal and Dante lay locked in a deadly embrace, eyes blazing and desperate. West's finger still gripped the pistol trigger. Cal struggled to point the gun back at West. Cal saw his opponent pull the trigger twice and felt the low double report of the gun. New section. The assault team watched helplessly, not wanting to take a shot for fear of... Let me start that one over. The assault team watched helplessly, not wanting to take a shot for fear of hitting Cal. His friends each felt the 2 gunshots deep in their guts. They all screamed at once as Cal slumped to the floor. All right, one more chapter left. What's going to happen?